There we go. And
Okay.
I'll just start with some information and then we'll just jump into the interview. So today I am interviewing Chipp Latham. Is that how you say your last name?
Latham.
Latham. Okay.
Latham is not uncommon though. That's either way.
Okay, perfect. So today I'm interviewing Chipp Latham for the Student Athlete Oral History Project. Today is Wednesday, November 10th. 2021, and this interview is being conducted via Zoom. I am the interviewer, Ashley Collier. All right, for our first question, can you share with us your name, what your major was when you attended Oklahoma State, and what years you were a student here?
Okay, my name is Chipp Latham, and I got a bachelor's degree in biology, and I was attended Oklahoma State from 75 through 78.
Okay, and what team were you a student athlete for?
Football.
Okay, and what position did you play while you were on the football team?
I was a running back for 2 years and then a wide receiver for 2 years.
Okay, perfect. So why did you choose to attend Oklahoma State University?
Um, Actually, I had a wide variety of choices. I had like over 100 schools that I had the possibility of going to school with. And I was a lot more familiar with Oklahoma State from friends that had attended there. And I'd gone to quite a few games. So I eventually narrowed it down between Tulsa, Oklahoma State, and Oklahoma. After my visits that I had with the schools, it seemed like Oklahoma State just seemed like a better fit for me. A lot friendlier, a lot more kind of a small town atmosphere, because Stillwater at that time was maybe 20,000, 25,000 people. School was about the same. And I just felt more at home when I was at Oklahoma State.
Awesome. So what was it like to be a student athlete when you were here on campus?
Um, it was actually a lot, very enjoyable. A lot of people would recognize you, even though I wouldn't recognize a lot of them sometimes, but they thought I would recognize them. So in that sense, it was kind of like I guess, celebrity kind of status at times, in a certain way and in a certain way not. But it did have its moments of that. And but besides that, it was very busy. Back then, when I played, we were in football from about 1:30, since I was a skill person. We were in football from about 1:30 till about 8:30 every day. We'd have maybe one day off. So it was pretty time compressed. It made it difficult to find time to study, especially any of the harder courses like biology or physics or anything like that. It made it a little bit more difficult to find time to study. And I just remember, trying to budget my time as best I could. I wasn't very good at it when I first got there, so I had to really work at learning to budget my time a lot more efficiently. And that took probably a good semester or maybe a little over.
Yeah, that's great. That actually leads me into my next question. So, what challenges, if any, did you face as a student athlete? You talked about kind of having to balance, being a student and an athlete. Were there any particular challenges that stand out to you?
Basically, it's time because, uh, like I said, practice from 1:30 to 8:30. They'd usually give us Tuesday off or Wednesday off. I can't remember which. If you had an away game, you left around noon on Friday. You didn't get back until Saturday night late. Sundays, you started going in at meetings around 1 till about 5. So time time was just always an issue. Finding times to study, finding time for a social life. Uh, so that was probably the biggest challenge. And luckily, we had good professors, good coaches that kind of helped us out when they could. We were offered tutors. I don't think I ever used one, but we were offered them. Uh, they took care of basically most of our class enrollments and getting our books for us. And then we would just get a letter stating that their books were ready. We'd go to the bookstore and pick them up. We had our own separate bookstore at Iba Hall, or not Iba Hall, actually Gallagher Arena is where it was. We would go there to pick up our books. So learning to just work with your time was about the most challenging thing at times.
Yeah. And that you kind of touched on some of the things I was going to ask in this next question. I was going to talk about, what academic support did you receive while you were a student athlete? Did you talk to some other students that were not athletes that maybe didn't have the same resources that maybe you had?
They were a little envious of that. I think the most thing they were envious of is we lived at Iba Hall at the time, and we had one of the best training tables in the whole country. Basically, training table was our food that we got. We had steak 3 times a week, and we had all of the cooks treated us like their sons. So we got treated with special food and stuff. So it was more envious of the other students. I know there was a long line of people that always would come over and see if they could get a lunch pass or something, or a dinner pass to come and have dinner with you, because that seemed to be the big thing. It was a great way to go out on a date, I guess, is have them come over and have dinner with you and then go out and see a movie or something.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
So from the time you started at Oklahoma State to graduation, did you experience any changes in sort of the academic support that was offered to you?
Yeah, it changed throughout the year. The first semester, they had us in study halls. So right after our meetings around 8:30 at night, then until 10 o'clock, we had study hall. After about halfway through, after we got our midterm tests and stuff finished with, if you had a 2.5 or better, you didn't have to go to study hall anymore. So luckily I was above that. So I only spent about half the semester in study hall, and then I was on my own. So that's kind of how it worked. I would say the academics, the coaches would kind of stress it as long as it didn't interfere with your athletics. They come a point where, they said athletics first, your team's, second. That was kind of a little bit of a misnomer. You knew that academics was important, but athletics kind of had to overstep a lot of that, because a lot of times you're gone, you had missed classes because of leaving at noon on Fridays for away trips. So you kind of talk to your professors. Some of the professors were great with it. They would really help you out. Some of them said, hey, you're on your own. So, do the best you can. So it was kind of a mixed bag, but I'd say overall it was very favorable for the student athletes to get help from their professors, and also from the coaching staff if they needed to provide you tutors or anything.
Okay, perfect. So, you mentioned that you didn't really struggle academically as much as maybe some others. Did you see some teammates of yours that really did struggle academically and maybe were not offered that academic support they needed?
Interesting way that usually worked is I had some of the former athletes that would go to class with me, because and some of them were 2 years behind me, but they would get enrolled in a class with me. So they would sit next to me, and I would kind of help them out with stuff they were having difficulty with. So that's kind of the way we would do some of that. So that kind of helped the slower ones, and some of them were pretty bad. Unfortunately, I saw a number that barely were able to read or write above maybe a 7th grade level. I remember watching one, I won't say who he was. I saw him trying to sign his name. And he took the pencil in his hand, he kind of stuck his tongue out, wrote his name, made a mistake, wet his finger and tried to rub it out. And I remember thinking at the time, I says, man, we really got to work on our some of these people to get them to read and write. So it was a struggle for them. they would usually take the easiest classes possible. Some of them, though, to get a PE degree would have to take anatomy and physiology. That's where I would see them a lot of times, and that's where they would come in. They would assign a player to kind of take the classes with me, and we'd sit down and go over stuff, and I would kind of keep them, their attention on what was going on in class, and I'd also, help them out maybe after class if they needed it. I wouldn't say it was common, but it wasn't uncommon either to have that type.
Okay. So last question for you. If you could go back in time, would you still choose to attend Oklahoma State University?
Yes, I would.
Awesome.